Welcome to Magnificent Living Today. Are you living a life of optimal health? Do you want to make changes in your life? Do you need help setting and achieving goals? Are you ready to reform and reshape your mind, body, and spirit? Are you looking for more balance in your life? Many of us are thinking about starting a better lifestyle program, both for ourselves and or our family. We all know how difficult it can be to motivate others when we ourselves are not motivated. Sometimes we all need a little help reaching our goals, and that's why Magnificent Living today is here for you.
Happy New Year. Welcome to Magnificent Living Today. I'm your host, Powell, and I have a lot I want to talk to you about. So I'm going to start with the Let's Move and Keep Moving program. I, along with the mayor of Laurel, are putting together a program to get Laurel up and moving, healthy and well in the year 2012. I'm looking for fitness instructors, health practitioners, acupuncturists, massage therapists, anyone who wants to help Laurel get healthier and fitter. Please contact me at carl@carlpowell.com. That's number one. Number two on my list is the Magnificent Body Makeover. And on our last show, I offered one of our viewers to write to me and tell me why they feel as though they should win the Magnificent Body Makeover. What the Magnificent Body Makeover is 3 months of exercise, massage, and work with a nutritionist. All you have to do is write to me at carl@carlpowell.com and tell me why you should be the person to win. We're really looking forward to finding that right person and getting them to work and getting them to that place where they're setting their goals for 2012. We're going to be back. Jennifer Frazier's here with me today. We're going to be talking about setting goals in life and relationship. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Are you ready to make a change? Because if you are, we here at the Magnificent Body can help. We have a contest going on, the Magnificent Body Makeover. What we need you to do is write in 500 words or less why you think you should be the person to win the Magnificent Body Makeover. Write to me at carl@carlpowell.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. You are magnificent. You are powerful. Welcome back to Magnificent Living Today. I'm here with Jennifer Frazier. Welcome, Jennifer.
Welcome, Carl. Thank you. It's so good to be here.
It's been a little while.
It has.
And we're going to talk about goal setting. And my whole deal for this year is I want to do everything smarter and not harder.
Yes.
Because life has been presenting me with situations that I have to just keep saying, well, it is what it is. So now what? And what I did a lot in 2011, as I went back and reviewed my journal, I did a lot of things where I worked harder than I should have or harder than I needed to. And so my goal this year is to really just to get smarter about my attempts at setting and achieving my goals.
Yeah, and I want to commend you for that, Carl. You know, looking back at, the past year, seeing what worked, what didn't work, and then deciding today, what can I do differently? What's going to get me closer to my goal? What's a smarter choice to make? So I'm not spinning the wheels like a hamster running around that circle. What are the smarter choices that I can make?
Yeah, and it's about taking your time. It's about slowing down, because when you slow down, when you get down to just being in the moment with yourself, you can really start to analyze what is it about myself that I want to change. And a lot of times we feel as though we need to change. And I don't think that people achieve anything out of the need to change, but they have to want to change.
They have to want to change, and also I think a lot of times people look at their lives and they see things that are just not working, and they want something different. They're longing for something different, and so I think that's where that need comes out of, where it's I need to change this about my life, whether it's my relationships, my health, my fitness, whatever it might be. But yeah, it first starts with you have to want to change. You can't change because somebody else wants you to change. That's not going to work. You are in control of your own life, and you have to decide that this is the steps I want to take.
And there's also, like I said about that slowing down. That slowing down thing allows me to look at it as a plan. And when you look at it as an action plan, then you can set goals around it.
Yes.
Like you were talking about running on that wheel. It's so easy to get there when you don't have a plan.
Yes. and I know we're going to get into that later, Carl, but that would be one of the primary steps to take in goal setting, making a plan. Not, following, along the lines of making the whole resolutions where, we wish for something to happen in our life or hoping for something to happen, but actually making a plan, writing it down. I'm a big proponent of writing things down because that really makes a difference, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. There's a quote that comes to mind, plan your work and work your plan.
Oh, I like that.
And that's really what you have to do. You have to realize that it's going to be work. It's not going to be easy, and you really have to plan so that you don't fail.
Is anything worth having really, easy to obtain?
Well, I don't believe most things that are easy to obtain are things that we didn't want or ask for in the first place. And the harder things in life, the harder things to achieve, the things that are worth it, are worth working hard for.
Exactly.
And you have to realize that it's going to be work. And a lot of people just expect things to fall into their laps.
They expect it to fall into their laps, and they also have that mind frame where I just want it right now. I don't want to put in the work that it's going to take to get me there. I want what I want when I want it.
Well, we live in the world of instant gratification.
Yes, microwave society.
YouTube, Facebook, everything's fast, everything's easy, but like we said, the things that are really worth it are going to take you a little bit of time. And it's about learning how to manage your time, because until you manage your time, you can't really work on your plan. Because we can get into a lot of time-wasting activities. And life will throw a whole lot of time-wasting activities out at you. And you really have to sit back, and that's why we talk about journaling, and it's so important, is that you have to be able to go back and assess what is it that's happening. Where have I failed before? And now how can I make sure that doesn't happen again?
Really setting yourself up for success this time around. Looking at what didn't work well, what's not serving you, and what you could do better. Taking small baby steps. You're not going to be able to run a marathon, the first day you start training for one. But it's those incremental steps that you take day by day that's going to get you there.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like running a marathon. You have to prepare yourself for that. And it's not like you can run a marathon if you haven't been training for quite some time.
Yeah.
And so it's all about learning how to, that's the work, it's training. It's taking the time to step by step saying, what do I need to do to be able to run this marathon? First, I'm going to need to be flexible. And that has, it's in your mind and in your body. So as you become more flexible in your mind and in your body, you become more prepared for the marathon. The next thing you need to do is you maybe have to walk first. Because sometimes you have to walk before you can run.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to crawl before you can walk.
Yes.
And, it's not a deterrent towards your goal. It's just realizing that it's going to be step by step by step. And sometimes it's big steps, and sometimes it's going to be small steps. And we talked about resolutions and why they don't work. By February 1st, most people have forgotten their resolution. They say 92% of people have forgotten their resolution by February 1st, which means only 8% of the people who actually set resolutions actually get to that place where they're at their resolution.
Smarter goals. Smarter goals are S, specific, M, measurable, A, achievable, R, realistic, T, time certain, E, exercise daily, R, reviewed and rethought.
So we know that 2011 was hard for a lot of people. So what I want people to realize is that this next year, 2012, is not going to change. You're going to have to change. So the change is going to have to come from you. Let's talk about how change can affect people in their lives. How do the people in your lives?
You mean how, when I change? Yeah, I find that once I start doing things differently, or once I start being a different way, that affects everyone around me. So whether it's, I want to be more generous or more loving or compassionate, I start showing a different side, people start responding to me differently. So it's up to you to decide, though, what kind of change you want to make. So that's going to be the first step. Looking at your life, what kind of change do you want for yourself?
So I would say the first step then would be just to sit down and look at where am I today and where is it exactly I want to go. And Benjamin Franklin said before he went to bed at night, he would sit down and he would write down exactly the events of the next day. And that way, when he woke up, the next day was just going to happen because he said it was going to happen that way. And I'm a true believer in that if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And so often people, Oliver once said, the tongue is the vilest organ of the body because you have to be very careful about what comes out of your mouth. If someone says to me, oh, I have to go to work today and it's going to be blah, 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 then I said, you know what, it's going to be that because you said so. You've already put it in stone. This is what today is going to be. And so I always start my day off with, this is going to be a positive day, and then start working on my plan. So put my mind in the positive mode. Then I get into my journal and I look and I said, okay, what did I say I wanted to do? Because a lot of times with goal setting, we set one goal and then we realize that it's not just one goal, but it's actually a series of goals that will help us get to that one achievable place. And so you need to sometimes just sit down, break down what the goals are, and then start to create that plan. And when you set your plan, it's like a lot, what is the saying? I love the saying, most people plan more for their wedding than they do for their marriage.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. It's about realizing that it's all about the actual goal and not the celebration of the goal. With smoking, with losing weight, with all of those things, more people fail than succeed.
Yeah.
And it's about, they celebrate when they start. It's a big thing and it's a big celebration, but when the celebration goes away, you know, it's like the wedding. When the wedding is gone and all the people are gone and the gifts are all opened and they're all in use, now what?
Yeah, I'm married to you.
Yeah, you're right.
Now what?
Now I'm married to you and I have all these appliances. Now what?
Yeah.
So we really have to really work our plan.
Yeah, and I just want to touch some more on that, Carl, because you made some very important points. And when you are making your goal, I always share with my clients that it's important to have that vision. What does it look like? What does it feel like? You know, if it's losing weight, what does that mean to you? Does that mean, your body is toned and stronger? Does it mean fitting into that perfect size 8 dress, wearing the bikini on the beach? Actually see yourself achieving that goal, because that's going to stir up the feelings inside you and help to build that momentum and keep you going. Also, along with that, once you have a vision for your goal, like you said, what are the action steps that I can take? Let's make a plan. But going a step further, let's actually figure out what the baby steps are every day for that goal that I'm setting. So if my goal is to lose weight, okay, what are some things I can do every day? I can drink more water. I can exercise for at least 20 minutes. I can eat, fruits and vegetables more times a day. And setting those baby steps and those small steps are really important, because if you find at the end of the week, you did not lose weight, you did not achieve your goals, now you can go back and look and see where the failure was, where you misstepped. So maybe I didn't drink all my water today, or maybe I decided to have a cheeseburger and french fries instead of the vegetables. You're able to clearly see where the breakdown in the plan was, make modifications, and keep moving forward.
Right.
And that's how you're going to be able to do that day by day until you reach your goal.
And you've got to reach the point of forgiveness, because so often we fail or we slip, and it's not a complete failure. If your goal was to quit smoking and you slip and you have a cigarette, easy to say, oh, well, I smoked, it's over with, Happy New Year, and keep moving, and keep smoking. But much harder to say, you know what, I forgive myself for doing that, and all I know is that I don't want to allow myself to do that again.
Yeah, have some self-love and compassion for yourself. I know on more than one occasion, when I've tried to reach my fitness goals and, I slipped and had a cookie or a cupcake or whatever, you know, I've blown it for the day, so I might as well eat, you know, all the junk I want. But it's, no, that's not true. You know, that was a mistake. It was a slip. I can get back right on track right now, right at this moment, and move toward my goal. Every little thing I'm doing is either moving me closer to my goal or it's moving me away from my goal. So when you look at it like that, you can see, okay, the action that I'm taking now is eating this cookie going to move me closer to my goal, or is it going to move me away from my goal? Is working out today, is that moving me closer or away? That's how you get there.
And it's going to be a tug of war. You know, that's the whole point. Is it will be a tug of war in your head, in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, because change is difficult, period. And I talked about on the last show when I lost the 100 pounds and I changed, and then all of a sudden I didn't know who I was. And so often we decide to make a change without thinking about who are we going to be on the other side of the change. And so I say you have to really be prepared, and that's why journaling is so important, so that we can go back and we can review and measure your progress, because if you're not measuring your progress, how do you know you're progressing or if you're falling back?
You have to have measurable goalposts along the way, so you know if you're getting closer to that goal or if some modifications need to be made. And to also speak to that, Carl, we're looking at excellence, so to speak, and not perfection. We're not perfect. You know, there are going to be some days we're going to get up and, you know, we're not going to want to stick to the plan. We're not going to want to follow through. But those are the days where you have to push yourself even harder. And so I often say, when you're also goal setting, make sure you write down the why. And the why is, why do I want to accomplish this goal? What does this goal mean to me? So when you're having those days when there's that internal tug of war inside of you, you can go back and look what you wrote down to see why this was so important to you, why you want to make this change in your life.
And your goals have to be realistic, because a lot of times a client will come to me and they weigh 200 pounds and they say, by the end of January, I want to weigh 150 pounds. And from 200 to 150, that's not really going to work.
In 30 days.
In 30 days. But if we can get 10 pounds off, we're moving closer to that goal.
Yep.
And realizing that it's going to be baby steps, because as many steps as it took you to get down the road or the path that you're on is as many steps as you're going to have to take back to get off of it.
Because you didn't gain, you know, 50 pounds overnight.
Yeah, or in 30 days.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a process. It's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
And realizing that lifestyle choices difficult, harder to achieve, because it's your life. Goals that you set outside of yourself are so much easier because they just depend on your hands. The goals that you do inside of yourself depend on your mind, your body, your spirit, your faith. It's so much more when it has to do with you.
And they all have to be in alignment, you know, for you to be able to push forward and keep going.
You know, like I said, my goal this year is to help Laurel just get healthier, but to help the world get healthier and help myself get healthier in the process. Because that whole metaphor that you can't help anyone else without helping yourself. Yeah. And that's what it's about, is finding out the things. I know that my spirit soars when I help other people reach their goals. So part of my goal is to find more sufficient ways to help people reach their goals. And when I do that, then I feel better, and then I start working harder on my goals because my spirit is up. My motivation level is up. My light is on. And when my light is on, I'm going to do better.
Yeah, because when you're up-leveling other people, you can't help to be up-leveled yourself and rising to that higher, you know, level, you know, for yourself, because you're pushing others. It's going to make you want to push harder too.
Yeah, and the harder, the more results you see, the harder that you'll work.
Yes.
So that's why I always say it's very important to have the mirror also, because you need to look at yourself and reward yourself and say thank you for the hard work that you do. Because anything that is achievable, anything that is worth working for, you're going to slip, you're going to slide, and then you're going to have major steps forward. And when you have that step forward, reward yourself.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be, okay, I want to lose 50 pounds, I've lost 10, so now I'm going to go out to a restaurant. No, that doesn't have to be the reward. The reward could be a massage.
Yes.
The reward could be a walk in the park. The reward could be just taking the time to read a book, because it's just so important to get with yourself, get quiet, and go back, evaluate where you are, breathe. That walk is so wonderful, because that whole walk, you can just take that walk and breathe. How do I feel? Am I achieving the goals that I want? Is it going too slow? What is too slow? I mean, you really get that chance to just be with yourself. And I feel like when I'm with myself, that's when my thinking is the clearest.
Yeah, you don't have the outside noise and the outside chatter. There's nothing disturbing you. And, you know, when you reward yourself, you can feel good and know that you did this. You took the time to make your plan and work your plan, and you made steps towards this goal. So if you can lose 10 pounds, you can certainly lose another 10 pounds.
Right.
I think a lot of times people look at their goal and it's so large, it's so big, and it just feels unattainable. And so that's why we do say break your goal down into small, achievable steps, measurable steps, so that you can see along the way, you know, how you're doing, how far you've come. Because if I think, oh my gosh, I have to lose 50 pounds, you get that feeling of, well, how is that going to happen? It feels impossible.
You get overwhelmed.
You get very overwhelmed. But if you think, okay, well, I just have to lose 2 pounds this week, by the end of the month, I could lose 10 pounds. And that's how you do it.
Yeah. And that with my Let's Move program, when I first thought about doing the program, I thought, oh, this is something that I could probably get around and do. And as I started to see the scope of what really the program could be, I thought, well, gee, I'm going to really need help. And so that's why I really want to enlist other people, because I know that there are other people out there who want to help Laurel get healthier. I know that there are people out there that want to help Laurel be fitter. I really want to create a program that is family oriented, because I talked about family values. We live by our family values. And so if your parents eat well, you'll eat better. If your parents exercise, you'll exercise, and you'll see it as a necessity, something that happens. I know that when I first started to exercise, I didn't know anyone that exercised. But my benefit was I was in California and my family was in Pennsylvania, so I didn't have anyone to tell me that I couldn't or remind me that I couldn't, because you know how they'll do that. You know you can't do that. Yeah. And so when I first saw exercise, I got to California and people were running and biking and walking on the water, and I thought, this all looks very good, but I'm completely at a loss. I don't even know where to start. And I met a girl at work, and she said, well, let's just start walking. So we walked at lunchtime. And in about 3 months of walking, she said, well, let's go to an aerobics class. I'd never heard of aerobics before, but I was like, okay. And the funny thing was that she took me into the aerobics class, and she lasted about 6 months, and I've lasted 32. I'm still exercising. So my goal was only to get my own self up to exercise. But when I got myself up and started to exercise, I realized that I wanted to help other people find that place, because I realized that I had a difficult time finding that place. So through finding the place for myself, it made me have even a bigger goal to help other people. And over the 30 years that I've been doing it, it's been up and downs, you know, peaks and valleys, but most important, that I've kept fit myself. And so, I mean, that might sound selfish, but that's where my first goal, that was my first goal. So I've always kept my first goal. All the other goals, they've come, they've gone. You know, I've been writing a book for about 15 years, and it's still sitting in my computer saying, what are you going to do with me? What are you going to do with me? Anyway, we're going to take a break right here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about love, relationship, and setting goals in our relationship. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Magnificent Living Today. Now we're going to get to the love thing. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Carl.
So let's talk about setting goals in our love relationships.
Yes. Well, our relationships are so important in our lives. I mean, that's how we connect with others. That's how we foster our own relationship with ourselves. And so looking at relationships goals, especially in January, it's a great time of year to do so. You know, you're kicking off the year, you want to make new goals for 2012. And so the first step, again, is to set a vision for what kind of relationship do you want. And we're not just talking about, you know, couple relationships. It could be a relationship with your parents. It could be a relationship with your child. It could be a relationship with friends, with your community. What kind of relationship do you want? I work a lot with singles. It could be that you want to find the right relationship. And so without knowing exactly what you want, you're not going to be able to get there. So have a vision first of what kind of relationship you want to set, or what kind of relationship, what you want your relationship to look like, and then what kind of plan you want to make towards that relationship. So for instance, if you are a couple and you want to set some relationship goals there, you know, again, what does that look like for you? Does it mean that you and your partner spend more time together? You know, do you want to take out a night during the week and have date night? You know, do you want to have dinners together? Are you guys running around all the time and you don't actually get to sit down and have a meal together? It's communicating those needs with your partner and really expressing, okay, well, this is what I would like to see for our relationship. What would you like to see? Hearing what they are looking for as well. It's having that, you know, that open dialogue with each other so you can find out, you know, how to move your relationship in the direction that you would like.
See, now you make that all sound so simple. And I am at the point in my relationship where I am evaluating me. And what I keep catching myself doing is falling back into 30-year-old behavior. And it's things that you've never resolved in the past. So I think that for me, if I could rewind, I'm not going to rewind, but if I could rewind, the first thing I would do is I would have sat down with myself and thought, okay, these are all of the things that have manifested in my spirit that have allowed me not to have the perfect relationship in the past. And just start dissolving those things within myself. One of the things I catch myself doing, and I forgot all about it, is a problem arises, and what do? I get very quiet, and I say nothing. And saying nothing is not communicating. I always thought, well, if the person saw that I was mad, then they would just understand what I was thinking. But that's not the way it actually breaks down. What breaks down is that now I've gone quiet, the person doesn't know what I'm thinking or feeling, and now miscommunications and misconceptions start to happen because we're not communicating. So for myself, my goal in relationship with all people is to, number one, state what the relationship is for myself. This is what my relationship is with my mother, and this is what my relationship is with my partner, and this is what my relationship is with my clients, because they're all love relationships. And I'll do the same in all relationships with my clients. If they come in and I see that they've slid back on their goals and I see that they're not working as hard as they want to, instead of maybe pulling them aside and just sitting down and talking to them in the past, I just get quiet on them. And what I've learned is that I have to learn how to dissolve those things, because until I resolve that within myself, until I go in and I say, okay, instead of getting quiet, Carl, find action in there. And the action, it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be in your face, but it has to be an action of communication. So that's my goal with my relationships for 2012, is just to find a way to communicate better, because I find that if I communicate my feelings, you will communicate your feelings and we'll reach understanding. But a lot of times people don't communicate their feelings with you because you don't communicate your feelings with them. And so it just ends up being dry and kind of barren, and nothing really moves.
Yeah, absolutely, Carl. I mean, all of us grew up differently. We come from different backgrounds. And so when you become quiet, you know, when you communicate with someone and something happens that you're not happy with, that's your defense mechanism that you learned. That this is the way I deal with it. So one of the important steps that you have started to take is you've started to pay attention. Okay, this is what happens when I'm, you know, in a relationship with someone and something happens that I don't like. But in addition to that, you've also started to learn that this does not serve me well. You know, this is not the way I want to show up in my relationships anymore. This is not how I want to behave and how I want to act. And so you are slowly learning what you need to do so that you don't resort to that behavior anymore, because that's learned behavior that you've learned over the years, interacting, you know, growing up with your family. I mean, that's your protection. You get quiet so you don't say anything that, you know, you might have to regret later. But you know now at this point that that no longer serves you. Right. And you don't want to show up that way anymore. And so by first understanding that this is the way you behave, also paying attention, okay, when certain things happen, it triggers that response from me. Now, what are some things that I want to do to change it? And you said, starting by opening up and having that conversation, having that communication. Doesn't mean you go into attack mode. It doesn't mean you get upset or, you know, berate the person. But it means recentering yourself and coming from that calm place where you can have an open dialogue and have discussion. So, you know, all of our relationships are mirrors onto ourselves. And so we all have to look inside. It's always going to start within us. You know, we're the catalyst to make things different and push things forward. But in order to do that, you have to know what's going on. You have to see all of your different relationships, see the kind of relationships that you do want to have, and figure out what's not working. So that's one way you figured out that, you know, that's not working in your relationship anymore. You want to find a different way of doing it. You know, another couple might find that we don't spend any time together. Okay, so what do we want to do to change that? You know, we want to make our relationship more of a priority in our life. A parent and child might look at their relationship and say, again, we don't communicate. I don't know, you know, you're a teenager, you're off doing your own thing. I don't know what you're doing in your life. You know, I want to have a relationship that's more engaging. And so that's how you start to set those relationship goals, where you have a vision of what you want your relationship to look like. You see what's not working in your relationship, you know, and what's the smallest step I can take to change it? You know, you might be talking, you know, with your loved one, and you might feel the need to, again, revert back to that behavior, that closed communication behavior. So it's not something that's automatically going to change overnight, because that's a habit, that's a behavior that you've learned for years and years. But when you start to recognize, okay, I'm closing down, what can I do now to push myself forward, to be more open? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you're right, it is a learned behavior, because I think that traditionally in my relationships with my family, what everyone has always done is sweep things under the carpet and or stick your head in the sand and pretend like it doesn't exist. And that's so often the behavior that I want to revert to. I catch myself wanting to sweep something under the rug. I catch myself just burying my head in the sand because I just don't want to know. But that doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't help you achieve or grow or get better. It only stifles your growth. And realizing that sweeping it under the carpet will stifle my growth and will not allow me to ever love, will not ever allow me to have an honest, true, loving relationship where I'm communicating on the highest level, which is what we all want to achieve, even with our parents, with you and I. You know, I want our relationship to be at the highest level that it possibly can be. But until I can honestly communicate with you, look, Jennifer, this is what's really going on, then our relationship can't grow.
It's true, and it's certainly something that's not easy to do. And, you know, I'm very similar, Carl. You know, that's a behavior that I learned, you know, that, oh, I don't want to disrupt the peace, you know, I want everything to be going happily along. Meanwhile, inside, like, I'm going nuts, you know. I want to scream off the, you know, at the top of my head. So, we're in the same boat, because I'm learning the same thing. Okay, that's not working anymore, right. Or that's not how I want to show up in my relationships anymore. So what can I do differently? You know, and I find a lot of times, you know, with different styles, it reverts back to being afraid that you're not going to be loved. You're not going to be accepted for who you are. So if I come out and I tell you exactly how I feel, I'm afraid, for example, that you're going to leave, that you're not going to love me anymore, that you're not going to still want to be in relationship for me. And I find, you know, when I work with a lot of clients, and even when I look at myself at times, you know, that fear is there. Because if I'm really honest, I'm afraid that you're going to go away. And I don't want that. So I'm just going to sweep everything under the rug, and I'm going to act like everything's fine when I know deep down it's not.
Yeah, and it doesn't help you solve any problems. That's what I've learned. I learned that when I pull back, then everything stops. I sit there and I'm going back and forth in my head. You know, what should I do? Da, da, da. I have all these voices going off in my head, and none of them are talking to each other. They're just all talking at me. And I keep saying, okay, just hold it in, hold it in, hold it in. But what happens is, with me, is all of a sudden, it just boils over. And then all of a sudden, I catch myself going into that 30-year-old behavior like, and which I don't want to do, but it's a symptom of holding back. And it's just like going to the bathroom. It's just like doing anything. You hold back too long.
Just got the visual there, Carl.
Sorry to be so clear. Yeah, you get backed up. And when you're backed up, you're messed up. And so you really have to learn how, or I do anyway, to take all of that stuff out, to separate it, to say, what is it that I'm really feeling, and why is it that I want to sweep this under the carpet? And you said, a lot of times it's because I'm afraid you won't love me at the level that I need you to if I'm honest with you. But life teaches us that until I know you honestly, I can't love you. So that person isn't really loving you. They're loving the image, the representative that you're putting out there.
Yes.
And meanwhile, you're miserable because you're not getting the love that you need. This person thinks, you know, perhaps that, you know, you're getting everything that you need and everything is cool. So until you speak up, until you say, you know, and not screaming and yelling, because when the volume goes up, the listening goes off.
Yeah, you're just talking at each other and no one's listening. And that's not real communication. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Exactly. I hate when I'm doing all the talking. I'm like, oh no, am I doing all the talking again? And I'm going on and on and on. But that's the thing that I have to fix inside of myself.
Yeah.
And I think that with all relationships, it's cultivating a relationship. A relationship is like a garden. You've got to go back in there. You've got to rearrange things. You've got to figure out what works.
Pull out those weeds.
Right, because the weeds are going to come, and you're going to have to get those out of there. So I know that in my love, I need to just start to cultivate and really take time to pay attention to the weeds. And when the weeds come, take them out, figure out what they are, you know, and find a way to stop them from coming back.
Yeah. And doing it, you know, piece by piece, one at a time. You know, don't let all of the weeds grow and then all of a sudden, you know, you have all of these issues that are really bothering you and you're ready to explode like a volcano. So as they come, it's, you know, handling it and dealing with it. And so, you know, like I said, for 2012, really creating the relationship that you want and creating those relationship goals first begins with a vision, what you want your relationship to look like. Then begins with the smallest step that you can take towards that vision. So maybe it's picking up the phone and saying, hey, how you doing today? You know, just wanted to reach out to you to see, you know, how things are going. Maybe it's, you know, planning to spend time together, actually getting something down on the schedule. Okay, Thursday, 8 p.m., you and me. You know, even if it's, you know, we're going to be cooking dinner at home, whatever it is, you know, spending that quality time with each other. And then making sure that you go back and reassess and, again, see what's working, see what's serving you, see what's not working. All of that is valuable information to make your relationships richer and fuller and just more fulfilling.
Well, Jennifer, thank you for all that great information, because I know that, you know, it's a working of you and me, and not just on me.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times people take all of the pressure and it's all me. But then you hold that in. And holding it in and blaming yourself, all that's going to lead to is the end of your relationship, because you're going to become so self-involved in what's wrong that you forget what's right.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times in relationships, we need to go back and find out, why did I fall in love with you in the first place? What were those things that really made me fall in love with you? What were the things that really just made me, I couldn't wait to see you? Because, you know, we go through that stage where I just can't wait to see you. And then we get together and we're together every day. And it's like, I can't wait until you go out for a few minutes so I have a few minutes to myself.
Right.
But going back to those little things, the way that you make me laugh, the way that you always know exactly what's on my mind, even though I'm not really ready to talk about it, even though sometimes that's irritating because you keep asking me, what's wrong? And I don't want to say. But learning how to say what's wrong without exploding, without holding back so long that it becomes an issue for you or me. And I encourage everyone to really work on cultivating your relationship, to plan your work your plan.
Work your plan. And I just want to touch on that, Carl, because that was beautiful what you just said about really learning to take a step back and appreciate, especially if you're in a love relationship, appreciate all the things that made you fall in love with your partner and why you wanted to be with this person. I mean, there may be someone out there who wants to build a better relationship with their husband, with their wife, with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and that person is not responsive. There's still things that that individual can do, and one of those things is really taking a step back and looking at what are some of the things that you appreciate about the person? What do you love about the person? Write them down. I'm, again, love to write things down. You have something in black and white. And as you begin to do that, you start to feel differently towards that person. You start to remember and cultivate like all the things that you did love that you may have forgotten about, and you'll start to see that your response to that person is going to be different. And as my response changes, your response will start to change. So there's still little things that you could do, even if your partner is not as responsive as you would like them to be.
So I'm going to leave here with, in 2012, plan your work your plan, write it down.
Yes.
Yeah. Pay attention to your feelings and the feelings of people around you. And when you're setting your goals, realize that it's going to be step by step by step. Don't hurry, don't rush, breathe, relax, cultivate, evaluate, review. You've got to go through all of those steps in order to make this year the best year ever. You are magnificent, you are powerful, and we'll see you next week. Now it's the final frame, and somehow I feel as though I've lost this game. Though I tried my best to be a good man, in your eyes, I guess I lost this hand. I never knew how it was going to feel to lose you, even though I never pleased you. Please know I always loved you, the man I never knew. The whole town seemed to think you were great. You were the man about town. Here comes Joe, and there goes Joe. You, the man I never got to know. No one could deny that I was your boy. I looked at photos of you and see myself. And though I look like you, I could never bring you joy. I've been trying since I was that boy. But alas, I can stop. There's nothing left to prove. I can relax now. There goes Joe. And now it's time for both of us to move on.